Aboriginals of Australia have been living on this vast island for over 70,000 years, and scientifically it has been proven that they are the oldest living civilization in the world. They possess tremendous traditional knowledge, or in the words of Dr. Kamal Puri, expression of culture. But today, this traditional knowledge is on the threshold of threat by the Western commercial world. Let us talk in detail about this with Professor Kamal Puri. Sir, I have heard of burning of bushes by the Aboriginals of Australia.
That's a fascinating example, but let's not forget that is one of numerous examples. So that's not the only thing which Aborigines have got vast amount of knowledge, and it will be a pity if that is not recognized. Actually, they should be rewarded for that. We should actually be looking after them.
So will you please discuss that example in detail?
Now, the example I have read about, this is a long time ago when Captain Cook arrived on the New South Wales coast in 1788 with all the crew, and they saw these black people, they call them, and they thought, perhaps justifiably at that time, that they were primitive people because first of all there was no language communication at all, and they looked strange to them. After a few months they found that there were fires being lit at various places by this group of Aboriginal people, and they will lit a fire and then they will go dancing, and they even called them fire people, fire dancers. But they could not figure out why they were doing, because there was no reason. It was hot, and to burn fire, when it is cold, you can burn fire and get some comfort, but it was extremely hot. It was so hot that burning of fire would be most uncomfortable. It's only after 100 years that Australia realized that they were not crazy people, they were not mad people, they were not dancing unnecessarily or primitive people. They were doing what now the Australian authorities do all the time, that is lighting fire to avoid big bushfires.
Sir, it is said that Australia has large number of trees and bushes. Have Aboriginals of Australia been able to extract medicinal values out of this?
There is a plant called smoke bush that is in Western Australia. Aboriginal people for centuries have known that this plant, smoke bush, has got great medicinal characteristics, and they have used it for various treatments for among themselves. You can say it was a tragedy that they shared this information with non-Indigenous people, or non-Indigenous people somehow found out, and that has been going on. Anthropologists, scientists, researchers, they have been giving them all those lurements, give a bottle of beer or give a bottle of wine, and live with them, take them to the bar, and then get the information. And that is inappropriate. By stealth, they have got that information. Smoke bush, now they found out, the government found out, with the help of United States Cancer Institute, which is a large worldwide organization, that can cure cancer. So US Cancer Institute has passed on billions of dollars to the government in Western Australia for use of smoke bush. And the Aborigines have got nothing, not a cent.
So do you think that the world over the situation is similar about traditional knowledge or the expression of culture as to what is happening with the Aboriginals of Australia?
We have got Indigenous people all over the world. We have got Maoris in New Zealand, where I have lived and worked for 9 years among the Indigenous people of New Zealand. We have got Canadian Indians. I have spent some time in Canada working on this topic. We have got American Indians, of course, Native Indians. They have made and rather abused. Hollywood has made so many movies showing them as primitives. How bad it is, one cannot imagine. Showing those people as if they are all the time killing each other and running after each other and so on. But that's how the Western civilization has treated in a very insulting and discourteous manner the indigenous people. And of course, African continent has got many indigenous people. The issues are same or similar, and the amusing thing is that each country or each indigenous group thinks that, well, the other will do something one day to safeguard their interests.
So where is the problem of safeguarding their interests?
The problem is that the laws which govern all people in these countries, and most of these countries are common law based countries, they are governed by English law principles and so on. We have got intellectual property system or intellectual property laws dealing with the protection of intellectual property, and to an unwary, they would say, well, look, the intellectual property system should help Aboriginal people also to get protection like non-Aboriginal people. And therefore, why can't the Aboriginal people find protection or safeguards under the existing law? Well, in theory, that is good. Yeah, it is true. No law, as far as I know, in any of these countries discriminates between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people. But the fundamental problem is that Aboriginal system is poles apart from the Western system. So if one is North Pole, the other is South Pole. Aboriginal people, for example, do not have what actually dictates and governs our own legal system, the Western system, namely the right to own private property. So we are governed, I would even say obsessed, with the notion of ownership of private property. And my analysis of legal system is that if there is anything which is most dear, most significant, which is at the core of legal system in the West, and that is the protection of individual property. That does not exist under Aboriginal system. They do not have the notion of individual ownership. For them, this makes no sense. Actually, they have never adopted the system of every or each individual saying, this belongs to me, the land belongs to me. No, the artworks belongs to me. For them, everything, I mean everything, 100% belongs to the group, to the clan, to the community, to the people. So the land belongs to the whole family, to the community. The artwork, even if it is produced by one individual artist, no Aboriginal artist will, after producing an artwork, will sign off and say so and so. They don't, because they do not have that notion. That in one sense, that's a very beautiful way. That shows how much harmony. We have to learn from them. They live in more harmony than their counterparts, the non-Indigenous people.
On the request of UNESCO and 2 other Pacific organizations, Professor Kamal Puri was asked to find a remedy for the situation by devising a law to protect the interest of the Aboriginals of Australia. After 3 years of working, he has finally been able to devise a law which has now been accepted as a model law. Sir, how have you protected their interest?
Yeah, it hasn't been easy, nor is it perfect. I would not claim that this law is going to resolve all the problems, because the problems are too many and some of the problems we do not know. So what I have done, it is merely an attempt to find a way to make a beginning, to make sure that the past injustices are halted, they are brought to an end.
Sir, under the present intellectual property system, is it possible to protect their traditional artwork or their traditional knowledge?
It is a system which is quite different from the intellectual property system we know of. First of all, it creates a new property right in community. So it establishes a communal right instead of an individual property right. So the rights will belong to the community. It establishes a mechanism under which any person who wants to use traditional knowledge or expressions of culture will be able to make an application and will be able to get approval, will have to disclose all the information and obtain what I call prior informed consent of the holders of traditional knowledge. And so in nutshell, what the law does, it shows a way. Nobody can now complain that, look, we do not know how to approach, because some people maybe some of them justifiably have said, we would have liked to get permission, but we did not know whom to approach. So now they cannot have that problem. There is a body being set up. The model law suggests a body being set up, and it suggests how permission or clearances for the use of traditional knowledge and expressions of culture can be obtained. I have designed or made a conscious attempt to formulate a system which is not cumbersome, which is not going to lead to litigation. It's a very simple system because indigenous people are simple people. We have to deal, we do not have to bombard them with all the legalese the Western culture has inherited and continues to struggle with. So I thought it would be unfair to impose on them a system which is too complex and too expensive. So it's an informal system. Basically, it requires a process of getting permission of the rightful holders of traditional knowledge and expressions of culture before such a use is made.
With implementation of such laws, we can not only think of protecting the rights of the Aboriginals of Australia, but also protecting the 1,000-year-old cultural heritage of India as well. Thank you, Dr. Kamal Puri.
Thank you.